looking at it. So it's about connectivity and really connecting up all of our devices into an industrial Internet of Things, and then using the data that network provides to provide insight and get intelligence out of our manufacturing systems. But really, my team covers a broad range of technology areas, from metrology, which is really high precision measurement, how we measure all the products that we make, so that they can actually build into other systems and assemblies. We cover robotics and automation, data analytics, the industrial Internet of Things, visualization, so like virtual reality headsets, augmented reality, and how we look at data and an extended reality type of format. So I mean, a day in my life is really quite broad and takes me into a lot of different technology areas. I got into engineering through an apprenticeship straight from school. So an apprenticeship back then, it was a craft apprentice. So first year from school straight into college for the full academic year, where you really learn a bit of a foundation of what engineering is and some of the disciplines that you'll use when you go into the factory. So in that year we gained an NC, a national certificate. We then progressed into the factory, where we worked day to day on the shop floor with all the other engineers manufacturing aerospace components. So you could be mostly metal forming and cutting is what we've done. So you could be on a forging press making airfoils, you could be on a CNC mill or lathe or grinder cutting metal. So it was a real interesting place to work. You're getting that hands-on practical experience, which then you evidence, and that turns into your Scottish vocational qualification, which is your practical qualifications that go along with an apprenticeship. We then went back to college for 2 years on a 1 day a week day release basis. So you were in the factory 4 days a week and you were at college 1 day a week, so that you were still keeping up that education and the academic side of things. And over that 2 years, we've done an HNC, a higher national certificate, and we completed our SVQs. And all of those things together is what gives you an apprenticeship, where you become a time-served apprentice into manufacturing. At the end of that apprenticeship, there was an opportunity to be sponsored through a degree, which I jumped straight into. So the company I was working for basically paid my university fees. They continued my day release, so I went to university 1 day a week for 4 years. And that was really hard work, because university is such a step up from school or college. You really need to have that drive, because you're no longer in a teaching environment, you're being lectured at. So it's your responsibility to learn. So that was an adjustment. And I think if I'd gone to that straight from school, I would have struggled a lot more, but having that college and apprenticeship in between kind of prepared me for that transition. So that 4 years was really hard work doing that 1 day a week, but I completed that. I gained an honours degree. During that process, I actually transitioned from working on the shop floor to being more office based and more about a technical engineering leading type of role for the manufacturing production lines. And I started to specialise in metrology, which I touched on earlier, which is a high precision measurement. So I was responsible for a lot of the measurement in the factory. I then, after a couple of years of just working, I felt I kind of missed the education side, because it's quite an intense experience doing the day release degree. So I actually volunteered to go back to university, which there was times when I thought, why am I doing this? Because it's really hard work doing it 1 day a week. So I went back and done a master's degree. That was only 2 years, but it's a lot more self-directed research and learning. So it's quite a different experience again. But it was really good and enjoyable. Again, I achieved my master's degree in 2015, and at that point the opportunity came up to join, at the time, the Advanced Forming Research Centre, which is now part of the National Manufacturing Institute. So I moved across, which was fortunately just next door for me, so it didn't really change my commute too much. And I took up the position to lead the metrology team within the AFRC. So that meant running a metrology lab, looking at all the equipment that we use, and basically controlling all the measurement that went through that building. So it was more of a research and development environment, where we do industrial research for large and small manufacturing companies. Digital technologies were becoming more and more used through engineering, so there was a lot of similarities between how we measure parts. So we would essentially reverse engineer a part using 3D scanning techniques. Some of them are photogrammetry or structured light, where we basically scan the part. It seems a little bit sci-fi. You scan the part with light and cameras, and you essentially get a 3D model of the as manufactured component. And then because it's so accurate, you take measurements from that 3D model. And that is a lot of what digital manufacturing was, you know, having that digital twin of a real physical artifact. So because of those similarities, I took on leadership of the digital team as well.
Think about how you're going to do the job before you rush in and start it, because most of the jobs you will find little niggles and little problems, but you can always overcome them. So that's kind of the most important thing. You can almost get around every problem that you have if you can kind of stop, look at it, think about it, and then you'll know maybe you have to ask someone else, or maybe you have to kind of research something, or you have to kind of pull back to something you've learned in university or something you know from school. But yeah, definitely your problem solving is massive in our lab. So I love how many different kind of bits of kit that I can operate. It's something that I take a lot of pride in, and it's really exciting to be able to use them, so I can still go back into the workshop and operate the machinery in there if it's beneficial to me in the lab. And then there's all the high-end kit we've got in the lab. But the kind of other end that comes with that is that it is difficult to remember it all. There are so many different machines that I've been trained on and softwares that sometimes to go back to when you have to sit back for a couple of minutes, think back to when you used to use it, or even like we'll keep all the training manuals and things. Past, myself and the other apprentice I started with, we were based in just the cold workshop is what we called it, so that was like mills, lathes and EDMs. The most recent set of apprentices that we brought on, we brought 5 apprentices on, and they've expanded the apprenticeship even further, so they are doing a lot of what I did to start with, and they've also expanded out into our forging and forming technologies. So pretty much everything in the centre now, there is the option to get an apprenticeship in it. And I mean, even like I say with myself, I started out in one apprenticeship, and then through my career I've moved into a different lab, so it was like a foot in the door, and then there's so many places you can go within the centre.